All right. Good evening, people, or good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are, depending whether in Africa, West Africa, East Africa. I'm in Kenya right now. It's 1 p.m. So good afternoon to people in Kenya. So my name is Joseph Ndongo. I'll be your coach for today, your trainer for today. Before I even start, I'd like to acknowledge my moderator for today. His name is Kenneth Nyaga. On the chat box, you can see a spanner icon next to his name, either this side or this side. You can actually see a spanner icon, so he'll be the moderator for today. He'll be helping in adding maybe some information for you guys, sharing some links here and there. Like for example, at the end of the session, he's going to share a link specifically for you guys to register for your certificates. Yes, you get to have a certificate at the end of the session. He'll also be sharing links to social media accounts whereby we can keep the conversation going. He'll help in answering some few questions here and there. So yeah, keep him engaged and let's have a very interactive session as we move along. So welcome again to this particular webinar series. We've been having them now. This is actually, I think, the second month into this particular online sessions. Feel free to rewatch this video. Maybe you will not understand something along the videos. Feel free to rewatch it. As long as you have the link, you can rewatch this session over and over again to recap on what you've learned and maybe even ask questions in the chat section and maybe even follow up the conversation on our social media channels. So today we're going to tackle a very, very interesting topic, which is using data and insights to help your business grow. In the current age that we are living, you find that businesses have access to a lot of data, but they don't really know how to collect this data, to analyze this data, and to make meaning out of it. So we're at a point whereby we need to actually understand how do we collect data from maybe our website? How do we collect information from our customers, either offline or online, and now make decisions from this data that we have collected? We're in a digital age whereby data, we have like access to a lot of information, access to a lot of tools. And before we even start, I'd like to know if you have a website, and if you have a website, have you linked it with Google Analytics? Let's say, for example, you have a Google My Business listing. Do you analyze the data from your Google business listing? So how do you make decisions? How do you create personas for your business? How do you target your customers? So do you just like start marketing without a specific target customer? Have you segmented your market? Who are you targeting? Because before you choose the customers you're targeting, you need to actually understand the data. Do you analyze what happened to your business last year? And do you have goals for your business? So these are questions you need to ask yourself, because you need now to make profits. And for you to make profits, you need to target the right customers. And you find at the end of the day, you find people are marketing their businesses, but in as much as you're marketing, you're not doing it effectively and efficiently. So you end up spending a lot of money in marketing, but you don't get a good return on investment. So you have to think, how do I target my customers the right way and use an effective budget, channel my budget to the right methods of marketing, and now make a good revenue from my marketing activities? So these are the key things you're going to be looking into. So if you have a business, this is a session for you because you know how to market your business better. Maybe in the marketing field, you'll get more insights to help your customers excel. Maybe you're just here for knowledge. Yeah, it's also a very good session because you're going to be learning a lot of tools. One of the tools you're going to learn is something called RIN. So what is RIN? We're going to look into tools such as Google Analytics, Google Trends, how to analyze GMB data. So we're going to look at a lot of information today. And I'm really excited that you have joined us today. Hope you're going to learn a lot from this particular session. So I want us to see the agendas of today. And even as I share the agendas of today, I'd encourage you to say your name, where you're coming from, either country or county, or maybe province, if your country you're using provinces, or if maybe in Kenya, the county you're coming from. If you're in a business, what business you're into. If maybe you want to promote, let's say, for example, your blog, you want to promote your blog. So, just mention, my name is John Doe. I have a blog. I want to know how I can collect data from my blog and make my blog excel. Let's say, for example, you're selling products online. Let's say, for example, you're selling electronics online. So you can say, my name is Jendo. I sell electronics in this particular county. I have a website and I want to know how I can collect information from my website and know how to market more. So let's look at the agendas of today. The first agenda of today will be understanding the right questions to ask. So when you talk about the right questions to ask, is the understanding who to target. So understanding who is your customer. And for this, you're going to look at a 4-step process of analyzing data. So what process do you follow when you're analyzing data? And for this particular first objective, I'd like you to think of who is your ideal customer. So who do you target on an average day when you get to work? So who are you targeting? So that's the first thing you should be thinking of. Who is my target customer? Who am I targeting? Now, the next objective of the day will be identifying the best tools to use. So I know the customer I'm targeting. So how can I collect information with this customer that I've already identified? So the first thing is to identify your customers. So how old are they? What sites do they visit? How often do they spend time on your website? What pages do they visit on your website? What language do they prefer? So that is the first step. So understanding your customers. And then the next step is knowing the right tools now to use. So I want to know what language they prefer. So what tool will I use? I want to know what social media pages they like visiting. So what tool can I use? And for the second objective, we're going to now categorize channels into 4. The first will be organic search. So for organic search, these are searches on Google. So what happens there? And then you're going to look at social media. So how can you collect data from social media? And then you're going to look at your website. So how do you collect information from your website? So have you linked your website with Google Analytics? Or if you have not, I'd like to know if there is a tool that you use for Google Analytics. And then finally, we're going to look at our final objective, whereby is now making meaning out of this data that you've collected. Let's say, for example, you understood your customer, you went and started collecting your data from your website, maybe linking your website with Google Analytics. And then finally, how do you interpret the data from Google Analytics? For our final objective, we're going to see how you can link your website with Google Analytics and how you can now make meaning out of this data that you've collected. So I'm really excited. I hope you guys are getting a clear structure of what this session will involve. And I think from here, you can maybe even now start asking questions and telling us more about your business, because I'd like us to now culture this into a session whereby we know how you can be able now to make this particular session more cultured into your business. So if you share more about your business, it will be much easier for me to use examples for your business, and we can get more insights of your business. So I can see in the chat we have Felix Kimathi from Meru. Welcome, Felix. It's great to have you on board. I'd also like to know if you have a business, if you're in the marketing industry, to know more. Welcome, Ephraim. He's from Kiambu, Kenya. So I'd also love to know, Ephraim, what particular business you're in or what field you're in, so that we can cultivate this session according to what you're doing. So I think now we can move on to our first objective of the day. Before we look at the first objective of the day, I have a quick question for you. So what words do you use to describe your customers? So do you describe your customers as maybe intelligent? So maybe you're dealing with people who love, maybe you're dealing with business information. And these people love to know insights. What is the inflation rate in Kenya? How is this affecting my business? Things such as that. So if you are a blogger, and you want to attract people who read business news. So what word can you describe your customer with? Well, let's say, for example, you're a company that deals with the trends. So that is like fashion trends, and you're targeting maybe ladies in between 18 to 35 years. So you can say, like, you describe your customers as maybe young and trendy. So, what words do you use to describe your customers? I'd like to know, if you're a blogger, what kind of blogs do you write, and how do you describe the people you're targeting? If, let's say, for example, a business person selling maybe electronics, so what words do you describe the customer with? Let's say, for example, you sell maybe trending phones, so you can maybe describe your customers as tech savvy, who like to adopt new technology once it comes out. So what words do you describe your customer with? Because once you describe your customer, it will be very easy now to outline different characteristics for your customers. And from these characteristics, you can now be able now to define a persona, that is your customer, your ideal customer. So that these are like more of common characteristics that they have. So I'd encourage you to keep on sharing in the chat box. So let's start with our first objective of the day, understanding the right questions to ask. So for this particular objective, to remind you, you're going to tackle the 4-step process of data analysis. So what are the 4 steps we follow when you're analyzing data? And we're going to look at a very interesting tool called RAIN. So RAIN is actually an acronym, and we're going to look more into it. So stay tuned to understand how RAIN works. It's a very interesting tool which you're also going to use when you're analyzing data. So another quick question. What questions do you ask your customers? So let's say, for example, you want to describe your customers. So what questions do you first need to ask yourself, or even maybe your customers? So you can ask your customers, at what time do they get online? So this question is targeted to know when to market to them. If you understand that your customers get online maybe at around 5 a.m. in the morning, so you need to post before 5 a.m. So let's say, for example, you post at 4:30 or 4, so that once they log in, they find your content already posted. Let's say, for example, you can give a typical example with Nairobi. Nairobi, we have a lot of traffic. So you find that people are going to work between 6 and 8, maybe even 6 and 9. So you need to post between 6 and 9 because you know your customers are on their phone. Because right now, if you get into a matatu and it's traffic, everybody is on their phone. So at the end of the day, you know you have to post between 6 and 9, or maybe in the evening. So people are coming from work between 4 and maybe about 8 or 9 in the evening. And people spend a lot of time on social media at night. So between maybe around 10 and 11, maybe even 9 and 11. So you have to know different timings when your customers are online and the best time to post. So these are different questions you ask yourself. Are my customers using mobile? Are they using desktop? So this will be key so that you can be able now to do something called responsiveness. So is your website responsive on mobile? Is it responsive on a laptop? Is it responsive on a tablet? So if you realize you have more and more customers visiting your website or maybe your business listing on mobile, so you have to optimize it for mobile. If you realize that most of them are visiting on desktop, so you cannot put, let's say, for example, if it's social media, you don't want to put like a call button if most of your visitors are visiting from desktop. But if you find that most of them are visiting from their phone, the button that you should have on social media would be a call button. So these are different things you need to understand. So these are the questions you need to ask your customers so that you can know how to market, how to maybe even design your page, how to design your website so that you can target them rightly and spend the right amount of money for your business. So let's look at the process. So it's a 4-step process. The first step is, what are my objectives? We're going to go into the nitty-gritty of every step. But right now, let me just outline the 4 steps. The first step is, what is my objective? Step 2, what questions do I need to address? So I think we've tackled a bit of that. Step 3 is, where do I get this information from? And then finally, what do I do with this particular information? So it's a 4-step process, and you have to realize these things here and there. So just a reminder, I'll be looking at your questions at the end of every section. So keep them posted on the chat box. So when we finish the first objective, I'll go and address those particular questions. So let's first start with our first step of this process. The first step is looking at your objective. So what do you want to achieve with your business? So you might be, let's say, for example, a blogger. So what do you want to achieve with your business? So let me look at the chat box and see if we can get an ideal example. So we have Ephraim. Dora, I'm a writer. I've been working towards releasing my first book. Yeah, I'm really excited, Ephraim. You should share your link so that we can also be part of your launching. So how I market currently is by posting on social media and a blog as it stands to gain viewership. So from what I get is that you have social media pages and you have a blog. So the first thing is, what is your objective? So what do you hope to achieve? First thing, you are launching your book very soon. So that you need to create the first online that there is a book that you are launching. You need to give people some preview of your book so that people can be excited of the launching of this book. So for business, or even maybe for bloggers, people who are marketing, you need to know your online journey. It can either be awareness, consideration, and conversion. So the first step is awareness. So that might be your objective. You want people to know about who Ephraim Doro is. If let's say, for example, you're a blogger, if maybe you're a poet, you want people to know about your brand. You want to build a brand, Ephraim Doro. So that is the objective. So that can be awareness. Consideration would be, I've read maybe 1 or 2 of your poetry or maybe your short stories. So I'm considering buying the book that you want to launch. So I'm considering, but I'm not yet bought. So I'm aware of your business. I'm aware of your work. I'm aware of your articles, but I have not yet spent any amount of money on it. And then finally is conversion. Conversion is whereby I can spend money. I can subscribe to maybe your blog. I can subscribe to your newsletter. So you have to understand what the objective is. If now it's for a new book, You can now have the main thing would be awareness and consideration. So those are the key things you should be targeting to make people aware of Ephraim Doro as the brand. It's more of like people who read novels. If I know the name of a particular writer, I'd consider buying that book. So because I know them. So the first thing would be to create that awareness online. Create the awareness that there's somebody called Ephraim Doro. And then another would be consideration. So let people consider. So you're giving people sneak previews of your book. You're giving people sneak previews of your book, and it's a very good tactic to go with. And this can be done majorly on social media. So you give people sneak previews of your book, the most interesting bits of it, and even maybe different characters of your book. So let's look at various objectives. So one thing would be to tell people about my business. So that objective is what we call awareness. So you need to create awareness. People need to know that you exist as a brand, as Ephraim Doro, you exist. Two is sell more of your product and service. That is conversion. So maybe sell your books, sell poetry, have people subscribe to your newsletter, to your page. Another is identifying the most valuable customer. So this is whereby you get either you collect an email list, or you actually have people people subscribing to daily more of like quotes. I don't know if you do quotes. You can have people subscribing to daily quotes. You can have people paying maybe $1 per month to get a quote a day. So you can come up with different packages for valuable customers and come up with very affordable packages. So you can say, I want to be giving people a daily quote to encourage them every new morning. So every morning when they wake up, they get a notification either on their email or maybe on their social media platforms, whereby they get a ping that maybe you've given them a quote for that particular day, encouraging them, something like that. Another objective would be find new ways to engage with previous customers. So that mainly deals with something like email marketing. So you have to build a newsletter. So collect every email that when somebody visits your blog, you need to collect their email for remarketing, telling them about maybe a new book you're releasing, a new poem that you've written. So you need to tell them, there's something new, and you need to keep them like hyped up for the new thing that you've created. So like right now, if you're in the process of launching a new book, you can hype that and you tell them, there's a new book that is coming, and you send an email with a short preview of that particular book, or maybe some few lines in that particular book. It will be very interesting, and it's very easy to do remarketing because people already know about you. So you're just telling them of the new products and services that you have. So let's move to step 2. Step 2 is, what questions do I need to ask? And again, to repeat this, when you talk about what questions do I need to ask, is who is your customer? So if, let's say, for example, you're a blogger like Ephraim, or maybe you're a poet, you have to define who are you targeting. Not everybody is for the type of poems you write. So who is your target customers? Who are you targeting? So you have to define a specific audience. So I would say, I'm targeting guys between 18 to 35, or maybe guys between 35 to 45. Am I targeting female? Am I targeting male? Am I targeting somebody who may be going through a particular period in life? You can have events. Am I targeting somebody who is celebrating a birthday, an anniversary? Am I targeting somebody who just got engaged, and maybe you're writing a love poem, so they can dedicate that poem to somebody? So you have to define your audience very well, so that you know who you're going to market that particular article or poetry to. So you even have to define the geographical area depending on the language that you have used. So if you have written a poem in Swahili, obviously you need to target people who can understand that particular language. If you're writing a blog or an article related to a particular country or maybe a particular town, you have to know the right people you're targeting. So those are the key things you need to consider when you're targeting your customers. Or let's say, for example, if you're selling something online, you need to know who is going to buy that product, or who can influence the purchase of that product. If you're selling products for young kids, maybe kids not even technically young, let's talk of teens, and even maybe let's talk of teens, because they influence the purchase decision, and most of them are on social media. So it is maybe from 12 to maybe around 18. So you have to realize what appeals to them and also appeals to the parents. So these are key things you need to ask yourself. So you have to consider all these aspects of marketing so that you can define a persona. So a quick example of a persona would be like, let's say, for example, John Doe. John Doe is between 18 to 35 years old. John Doe speaks English. John Doe visits social media often. So like, for example, I can ask you a quick question. How many times have you visited Facebook or maybe Instagram or Twitter today? So is it frequent? Is it maybe 3 times a day, in the morning, at lunchtime, in the evening? So you even have to define, is John Doe employed or is he in campus? Is he still a student? That's how to define a persona. And when you define a persona, it's very easy for you to choose a channel to market, either social media, either on Google search engine, maybe on YouTube. So you can be able to easily choose the channel that you can market your products on. So when you're talking about the right questions to ask, I promised you a tool. The tool is called RIN. So RIN is actually an acronym. So R stands for rich. So who is my target audience? I cannot repeat that enough. You have to know who you're targeting. Then you go to E. E is engaging. So how can they find you online as they're looking for the products online? So if, let's say, for example, I'm selling shoes online and these people are looking for trending shoes. So if I Google trending shoes online, how can they find me with those keywords, trending shoes online? So, and then we move on to A, activate. So activate is, can they convert? Are they going to buy the shoes that they have actually landed on my website? So, and then finally, are they coming back? Are you getting repeat purchases? When they bought the first time, what was the experience on your website? So we're going to look at RAIN as a tool much more in our third goal of the day, and now link it to analytics. So how can you use RAIN and analytics together to see how you can make more conversions on your website? So let's move to step 3. So step 3 is the question, where do I get this information from? And the beauty about step 3 is that we have allocated an entire objective for it. So objective 2 of the day, we're going to look at, where do I get this information from? So what tools can I use to collect this information? Something like Google Analytics. Have you linked analytics to your website? So what information do you collect on your website? Do you know how many people visit your website in a single day? Do you know what pages they visit? Do you know what buttons they click? You have to have every single information about all these things: the buttons they click, the pages they visit, how long they spend on your website, where were they coming from, so that they can land on your website. You need to understand all this information so that you're able to make decisions. That is only for your website. And we have to collect information even from 4 main channels. So let me show you. So the first is social media. So who is following your page? What age are they? What geographical locations are they? And for social media, you can use tools such as social mention. We can use something like we can use Facebook page insights. There are very many tools. Hootsuite to collect data for social media. We're going to look deep into this in our second objective of the day, so don't worry. And then the next is organic search. So what words are triggering my website to appear or my blog to appear on Google search? Another thing is, now the third channel is your website. That is all about Google Analytics. And I mean, it's very, very, very pivotal for you to have analytics linked to your website. It's key. And I mean, it's something that you should have done like yesterday. And then finally, paid search. Those are like Google ads, YouTube ads. So how do you analyze information and use your budget effectively for search engine marketing? And finally, the final step is, what do I do with this information? How do I make meaning out of the information that I've collected? And I mean, like, you have to look at different aspects from it. Let me show you how you're going to look at different aspects of it. The first thing is knowing the right market to market. And I told you the main objective of looking at this process is to define an audience. When you're able to define an audience, you're able to know the market you're going to market to. So you're going to market to people in a particular geographical area, in a particular group, in a particular age set. So these are the key things you have to look at. Another thing is user experience. So how can you know what your customers are saying about your brand online and how to respond to it? How to actually see how you can make it better, or even now quench some different negative aspects of your business and make it right. So how do customers interact with your brand, and what do they say online about your brand? Another thing is content marketing. If there's something about marketing that you have to be really keen on, is content marketing. So again, I ask you a very simple question. What content have you created for your business for marketing? Because you have to have a content that goes up to about like 6 months or even a year. So you have to create a content plan that, you know, on this particular date, on this particular week, on this particular month, this is what I'm posting, and this is what I'm going to follow up on. These are the photos I'm going to use. These are the videos I'm going to use. And you can be able to even recycle this content just by adjusting some few aspects here and there, and know what is trending and use what is trending for that particular period. So you have to use it to your advantage and see how you can now make it work for you. For example, in Kenya, you find that there's the Jerusalem challenge, and people are taking the content that they already have and now culturing it to now marketing. You find that when you're having different marathons, you find somebody like Eliud Kipchoge, people are taking that particular event and they're using it for marketing. 159 Ineos challenge. So it is how you have to create content for your business. You have to know what you're going to post exactly when, at what particular period. If you're a blogger, so what articles are you going to post at what particular day, at what particular week. The beauty about planning your content marketing plan is that you can be able to create hype before you even post it. So if I know on the 2nd of November, I'm going to post a particular poem. So before the 2nd of November, I start to create a hype about it. I give people a sneak preview of that poetry. So that is how you actually now content marketing. And it's key. You need to have a content marketing plan in terms of photos, infographics, short videos, and you have to do it before you actually start posting. And then finally, how are you going to leverage on insights? So you've already collected this data. How can you use this particular data to target the right customers? That is more of like getting the right keywords, seeing the right search volume, the right amount of money to spend for a particular keyword. So this is actually going to tackle it more keenly in our second objective. So don't worry, we're going to look into this deep. So we're done with the first objective. I'm going to pause and see if we have any questions or any comments. So I can see Ephraim is saying, thank you guys, you've been a great help with this session. Thank you very much, Ephraim. I hope you're learning a lot. And I hope even as we use you as an example, you're going to apply some few tips here and there for this particular business. And also keep us posted on our social media pages and tell us the progress from what you're learning from these particular sessions. So we have Patrick Owero following from Kijabe. Welcome, Patrick. I hope you're going to learn a lot. So I encourage you to share some few things that you're doing so that you can know how we can culture this according to what you're doing. And then also have the Department of Tourism and Culture, Nyeri County. They're following from Nyeri, so welcome very much. I mean, I don't have to ask you what you're doing. And you're in the Department of Tourism. We're going to use you also as an example here and there and see how you can apply collecting data specifically on how to see you can grow the tourism sector in your particular county. So let's dive into our second objective of the day, which is identifying the best tools to use. So before we even start on this particular, because let me give you a sneak preview of what you're going to tackle in this particular objective. We're going to look at 4 channels of marketing and how you can analyze data for these 4 channels. The first one is social media. So how do you analyze data for social media? Again, asking you a few questions. Do you have a Facebook page, an Instagram page, Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube account? If you have these pages, do you analyze your data? Do you see how many engagements you did get on a post? If you actually do analyze this information, how do you actually make decisions from it? Do you know how many people like your page? Do you know what age they are? Do you know what locations that they are in? Do you know how many likes you did get on a particular page? And if those likes were from people who are following your page or new people, do you need to encourage these new people to like your page? So these are questions you need to ask yourself. Do you get shares for your post? So, that is analysis of social media. And then now we're going to move at organic search. This works for people who have business listings, people who have blogs, people who have websites. Do you analyze this information? Have you linked your website to Google Search Console? Do you see what keywords that trigger your website to appear? So these are things you need to ask yourself, and you need to have them like yesterday. And then finally, okay, not finally, but the third channel you have to look at is your website. Have you linked your website to Google Analytics? I cannot emphasize this enough. If you have a website, you need to link it to Google Analytics. And you're going to see why you need to link it to Google Analytics. You're going to see the power of linking your website to analytics. Finally, is paid. So how do you collect data for your paid ads? That is go search engine ads like Google ads and even YouTube ads. So how do you link it with Google Analytics and how do you collect information and ensure that you're paying less for something small. So those are the things you need to consider and look keenly at for your business. So we're going to move on swiftly into our objectives. And before we move on, I'm going to ask a very simple question. Which analytic tools do you currently use? So which analytic tools do you currently use for your business? I'd like to know which tools you actually use for your business. Kindly share on the chat box on the particular tools that you use for your business so that we can know the best tools that you use for your business. I'd like to know more right now, knowing the best tools that you use for your business so that we can know how to go about this whole process of analysis of your business. So right now, I'm going to move on to our first category, which is actually social media profiles. So for social media profiles, if you have a Facebook page, I don't know, maybe you can share on the chat box on the social media pages that maybe you use. Are you on Instagram? Are you on Facebook? Are you on Twitter? I'd like to know what particular social media pages that you're on so that we can know how we can use it for your business. And if I know most of us are on Facebook, so maybe we can use Facebook to do an analysis of all this. So for Facebook, I'm going to ask you a question. How do you use Facebook page insights? I'd like to know if you use Facebook page insights so that we can know keenly how we're going to go about it. So for Facebook page insights, we have different things you can use. You can actually see the people who are actually visiting your page. You can actually see the activity on different posts. So let's say, for example, you see like this post reached about 10,000 people. And out of the 10,000 people, maybe 5,000 liked it. Maybe about 1,000 commented on it. So you can actually see the activity that is moving along for that particular page. Another thing, you can be able to see the reach. So how many people it reached? On Google, we actually say something called impressions. So how many impressions did you get? So how many people did it reach? So that is the impressions. So that is Facebook page insights. And it's very, very powerful. I'd encourage you to actually use Facebook page insights because you can analyze a lot of things. If let's say, for example, you look at a post, you only had about like 5K likes and it reached about like 30K. And you have another one which has a reach of about maybe like 10K and about 9K likes. So the one which has about 10K reach and 9K likes, it's doing better than the one that had about 30K reach and only 5K likes. So you have to be keen and know what you did best for the one that got about 10K reach and 9K likes and try to replicate this. A keen insight that you can actually see is that when you're using something like, when you're using things such as photos, short videos, they work well because for photos and videos, people easily interact with them. Then you're just posting maybe words, text. So you have to look at things such as those and see why is this post performing better and why is this not performing better. And let's say, for example, you are boosting this post, you're spending money to boost your post. So you have to see how much you're spending for conversion, either for a like, either for a comment, for a message. You have to see how much you're spending. The lesser you're spending per conversion, or maybe per message or per like, per click, the better it is. So you have to lower your cost as much as possible. And the beauty about lowering your cost means that you're reaching more people and more people are responding to your posts. That is either by commenting, by liking your page or by liking the post. So these things you have to analyze because when you analyze your data and you target the right people, at the end of the day you end up spending less and doing more with your money. So that is for social media. So we can move on next. That is Google search, and we're going to start with Google Search Console. So let me define what Google Search Console is. So for Google Search Console is it's actually a very powerful tool whereby you tell Google, Google, hey, I exist, I have a website, and I want you to know about my website so that you can actually index it and list it on Google Search. When somebody searches for a product related to what is on your website, you appear. So this is how it works. You come and collect all URLs on your website and you package it in a document called a sitemap. So you take this sitemap and submit it to Google Search Console. So Google Search Console will take the sitemap see all the URLs, go to your website and crawl these URLs and understand what content is on your website. So once they know what content is in your website, it's beautiful because they will be saying, when somebody, let's say, for example, let me just go back to something like the tourism department in Nyeri. So let's say, for example, they have a specific website for tourist sites in Nyeri. So what they will do, they'll submit the sitemap to Google. So when somebody searches for first, like, best sites to visit in Nyeri, so Google will be like, there's a website that uses that tells us about the sites in Nyeri you have to visit. So when somebody searches for such a query, Google will pop it up. And the beautiful thing about Google Search Console, it will give you very powerful information. It will tell you your page is optimized, either like your speed is good or your speed is low. So your server is low or your server is fast. So you can be able now to see, do I need to change my server? Do I need to change maybe different codes on my website and see what I can do better here and there? Another thing it gives you is the particular phrases that triggered your website to appear. So if you realize you're getting the right phrases, you appear as a result of the right phrases, you optimize these phrases on your website. As you're doing articles, you're going to use these phrases on your articles. But if you realize you're getting phrases for the wrong, like, let's say, for example, let me work with the easiest example. If you're selling maybe spectacles, like the ones I'm wearing, so, and you find that you're appearing for the keyword glass, let's say, for example, a glass of drinking water, so you can have it as a negative keyword for your website. So those are, like, for example, insights you can be able to get from Google console, Google Search Console, and how you can use it for making decisions for your marketing plan, and even now creating a targeting audience. So it gives you information of somebody you never thought would be interested in your service, and now you know they're interested with your service, and know how you can be able now to analyze and utilize that particular information. So the next is Google My Business, Google My Business listing. I'd encourage Kenneth to share the particular link for Google My Business listing on the chat, so that people can actually know what Google My Business listing is and how you can use it for your information. Right now, I don't have enough time to explain to you what Google My Business listing is, but I can tell you how to use data for it. It's actually a free tool, something, so don't worry about tools and everything. It's a free tool. So what you can actually have about Google My Business listing is this: you can be able to see how many times you appeared on Google Maps. You can be able to see how many times somebody clicked to call you. You can actually even see how many times somebody left you a message. So it's a very, very powerful tool. You can even link it with your mobile phone and get messages on your mobile phone. It's a very powerful tool, and you can analyze a lot of things. So how many visitors you did get for a particular month, and see even the particular regions that maybe you're getting calls more from. So you can be able to see how you can create an ad, a specific Google ad targeting that particular region. So Google My Business listing, it's a free tool. That's, I know most of us love free things, as I do. So you can start from there. If you're a new business and you don't have a digital marketing budget, the best place to start is Google My Business listing. Another key thing is that in as much as you have a website, Google My Business listing optimizes your website for you. So when somebody searches your brand online, it's very easy. You can be easily found online. It's beautiful, it's easy. So Kenneth, I think you can share that link on the chat section. So let's move on to the next, which is Google Trends. So Google Trends is still part of the organic search, which is our second channel where we can market. So Google Trends is also another powerful tool, because Google Trends shows you what is trending. As the name goes, Google Trends. So what is trending? So what keywords are people searching for online? So how often do they search for it? We call that search volume. Is it maybe 1K in a month? Is it 20K in a month? So you can actually see the search volume for it. And if you're considering doing ads, you can actually see how much people are paying for this particular keyword. Are they paying $0.3 per click? Are they paying maybe 0.03? So you can see the competitiveness of these particular keywords. And keywords are very keen when you talk about Google Ads. When you're doing Google Ads, you pay via bidding for these keywords. So Google Trends is a very powerful tool when you're identifying the best keywords to use, and also identifying how much you can actually spend. Personally, I use Google Trends to even come up with a dummy budget for clients, and I tell them, if you want to get into Google Ads, these are the best keywords to use, and this is how much these keywords cost. And this is more of like a dummy budget of an average of how much you might be spending when you start doing your Google Ads. So different things you can actually use Google Trends for. One thing you can be able to find trending topics. So if you're a blogger and you want to know what you want to write about, or maybe let's say for example you're a vlogger, you want to know the best video to create, you can actually see what is trending, see how often people are searching for that, see the particular period you're searching for it, see the particular country and region. There's so much you can do with Google Trends. I don't think I can exhaust it, but one of the key major things you can do with Google Trends is know what is trending and how you can actually use that to create content. And it can also be a very beautiful tool to create your content marketing plan. You can just go to the previous year, because when we are approaching November, what happens in November is Black Friday. So you can actually see what people are searching for so much in the previous Black Friday. Like for example, to give you a hint, in the previous year in Kenya alone, the most searched keyword during Black Friday was TV. So people were searching for televisions. So that is information that you can use for marketing for this year. So how can you use the keyword TV, which was the most searched last year, specifically in Kenya, for the e-commerce platforms in Kenya? So how can you search information to market your business this year? And there is monitor competitors. You're able to see how your competitor is doing, how much volume are they getting online, and then compare to your business. And then you can do a simple SWOT, that is strength, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats analysis. Either you can be able to do keyword research, which I've already addressed. You can be able to see the volume of these keywords and how much these keywords people are paying for. Another thing, you can be able now to promote seasonal trends. For example, right now in Kenya, we're in the season of long rains. So when you can get online and see what people are searching for. Maybe you might not have thought of an electronics business, and you may be selling different electronics and you've never thought of selling heaters. But when you get online on Google Trends, you see for this particular period, people are searching for heaters. So that can be a good particular idea for you to add now heaters to your stock of goods. And finally, you're able now to see with regards to geographical areas. So what people are talking about in a particular geographical region. So those are key insights you can use Google Trends for. Don't worry, we're going to tackle Google Trends even more in our final objective of the day. So let's look at the last tool for specifically the organic search, which is Google Analytics. So Google Analytics, it's one of my best tools online because it helps me to do so much. And to give you a very simple analysis of how analytics work. So you just take analytics and link it to your website. And when you link analytics to your website, it collects every single information on your website. Who visited your website? How long did they spend on your website? What buttons did they click? What pages did they visit? What actions did they take? Did they subscribe to your newsletter? Did they click a button? Did they buy a product? So there are very many things you can do with Google Analytics. And again, to tell you, you need to link analytics to your website. Specifically for me, the best tools for analytics is that I have created a sales funnel. So for what I mean by sales funnel, I've given Google Analytics the steps that my customers follow to buy a product. So I'm able to know where my customers are failing to maybe buy the product. So maybe let's say, for example, it starts from the product page to the cart to the checkout. So maybe I find that most customers start on the product page, they go to checkout, but when they go to cart, but when they go to checkout, they abandon their cart. So what is happening? So I have to realize what decision do I need to make? What changes do I need to make on my checkout page so that I encourage more people to buy? Is it to give people more payment options? Is it to make the details that they enter simpler? Those are the decisions you need to make. So those are the tools that you need to use. And I'm going to pause to see if you have any questions so far. And I'd encourage you guys to keep on sharing. If you have Google Analytics, you can tell us what challenges you've been experiencing during different periods and times. So what challenges you've been experiencing. You can even tell us, for example, if you have a business listing, if you have a challenge in collecting this particular information, these are the different questions that you need to ask yourself and see which one is working for you, which one is not working for you, and have different things. Again, Kenneth, I hope I hope you're sharing different links for them. You can share the GMB link for them, and you can also share the link for Google Analytics. We have a dummy analytics. You have a dummy analytics account that can help you to understand better. So the link that Kenneth has shared, you can go to it, and you can actually see a dummy analytics account and see how it works. It gives you live insights, so you can be able to learn practically with that dummy account, and it's very, very beautiful. So let's move to our final objective of the day, which is understanding and analyzing your data. This is where we look deep into Google Analytics and also Google Trends. So let's start with analytics. So for Google Analytics, it's again a powerful tool. I don't think I've said it enough. It's a very, very powerful tool. And for when you just get on the overview of Google Analytics, you get different insights. First is the geographical location. So where are your customers? Are they, where are they? Are they in Kenya? Are they in Tanzania? Are they in the US? What country are they in? And this one is beautiful because it helps you to see, you might have thought you don't have visitors who speak a particular language. Let's say, for example, you don't know that you have visitors from Spain. But when you realize you have visitors maybe from Spain, others from Germany, you can now include the feature of maybe translating the content on your website. You can translate it to Spanish, you can translate it to German. You can have that translate feature on your website. Another thing is popularity over time. You can see how your website, people, the impressions and the visitors are increasing. That is popularity over time. You can see if you're doing better or you're doing worse over time. So you also have to look at that. Another thing is active users. So how many people are currently logged on your website and they're actually taking a particular action. So we have active and inactive users. So active users, they're currently on your website doing something specific on your website. Inactive, they opened that tab, but they're not currently on that tab. And maybe they have been inactive for about 30 minutes. For some websites, it actually logs you out if you are logged in user. Another thing is visits. So how many visits are you getting in a single day? And that's why I asked you, do you know how many people are visiting your website in a single day? Do you know how many people are visiting your blog in a particular period, in a particular day? And this is key information because it shows you, are you growing? Are you not growing? So the last is, how do you acquire these visitors? How are you taking these visitors from this online platform? Are you acquiring visitors from social media? Are you acquiring them from another blog? Are you acquiring them from YouTube? So how are you getting visitors on your website? So before even now look at how analytics work, how do you link your website with Google Analytics? So first step is to create an analytics account, which I think Kenneth has already shared the link to analytics. So go to google.com/analytics, choose the name of maybe your website, create an account. It's very, very simple. In fact, if you have a Gmail account, it's a seamless process. It's very, very simple. Now, you have created it. So how do you link it to your website? So once you create a Google Analytics account, you get an ID. So the ID is actually on the top left corner. So you're going to see an account ID. So copy that ID. So when you copy that particular ID, depends with how you developed your website. So if most of these days people use builders such as WordPress, like for example, about 33% of the web is powered by WordPress websites. Maybe you build it with WordPress, with Joomla, with Jimdo, with Wix. So what you just do, you can get plugins whereby you just paste that particular code. And it's very simple. You've linked analytics to your website. But if you developed it the old style using HTML, CSS, you just need to, there's a header tag that you're given by analytics, and you take this header tag and you paste it in the header HTML tag of every page that you want to track data from. So it's as simple as that. It's not something complex. It's very, very simple. Now, once you've linked your website to analytics, how do you analyze this data? And there are 4 key reports that you want to look at. And these 4 key reports, as I promised earlier, you need to know how you're going to link these 4 reports with the tool RIN. So the 4 reports are this, that is the audience. So who are my users? So in terms of audience, this is where actually I spend a lot of time. So who are my users? You're able to know what geographical region they're coming from, what devices are they using? Are they using phones, laptops, tablets? And to go deeper into devices, what operating system is this particular device using? Is it Android? Is it Windows? Is it Mac? Is it iOS? What particular operating system is it using? At what time are they getting online? You can analyze so very many things about your audience. And this is how you actually now develop a persona for your audience, because you're able to collect information for maybe about 2 months. And now you can be able to get a clear picture of who your customers are. Now that is the first thing. The second thing is audience. Not audience, that is acquisition. The first was audience, second is acquisition. So acquisition is, where are you getting these customers from? So where did they come from? So How did they find you? So that is the next thing you need to look at. Acquisition. How did they find you? Did they get you from social media? Did they get you from another blog? And in terms of how did they find you, this is also very, very powerful because it shows you where to market. If you find that you're getting a lot of visitors from another blog, you need to contact the owner of that blog and see how you can form a partnership whereby you can be able now to have him as a guest for me as a guest on your blog, or even see how you can be able to develop a contract where you pay him to market on his blog. So that is how do you acquire customers. If you find that you're getting more customers on social media, you have to invest more on social media. So these are things you need to look at. Now the third thing you can actually get is behavior. So behavior, again, very important. What are your customers doing on your website? What pages are they visiting? Are they visiting the homepage? Are they visiting the product? If product, what are the fastest moving products? What are customers really interested in? And how can you bring this product on your homepage? So it's different things you need to consider. So what do they do while on my site? What buttons are they clicking? And then finally, how they completed the goals that I'm tracking. To remind you again, I told you can create something called a goal funnel. So you give analytics a process. So somebody moves from here to here to here. Let's say from the product page to the cart to the checkout. So you give analytics a particular process that your customers follow. So how can you track this, and how can you actually see where you're failing? So those are the 4 main reports. So how do you use this particular set of reports and now link it to our tool, Rin? So I want us to look at how you can link it with Rin. So before I even show you how to link it with Rin, you can look at this. For Google, you have 2 main things. You have to look at the metrics. Those are the numbers, and we're able to see the new users. You're able to see the recurring users and the sessions. So the new users are people unique. They have a unique IP address, and they've never visited your website. They're visiting for the first time. And we can now we have unique users. Those are the unique. We have new users. We have recurring sessions. For new users, they visited your website the first time that particular day, and you can define sessions for your website. A typical session goes for about 30 minutes. So when 30 minutes is exhausted, you are counted again as a new user. So we have unique, new, and current and recurring users, and even sessions. So again, to tell you, you can actually now visit the demo analytics account and analyze and understand all this, the difference between new users, recurring users, unique users, and what's the difference between a user and a session. So a session might be a particular period of time that a particular user spent. So new user, is it different from a particular session? A new session, how long is a session? These are things I'd encourage you to go and find out. Go and research more about how users work on analytics and sessions, how they work on analytics, and see how you can use this information for your business, because you have to know how long a user spends on your website. Again, you have to know how many new visitors are you getting for your website. You have to know how many recurring users am I getting on my website, because again, to remind you, on the Rin tool, we have, are you nurturing your audience? Are you getting repeat purchases? Are you getting repeat visits on your website? So going back to our tool, Rin, remember to tell you again, R stands for reach, E stands for engage, A stands for activate, N stands for nurture. So when you talk about reach, so we go and look at those reports. The first report was audience. So who is your audience? So R will go hand in hand with your audience. So how can you define your audience? So identify the search terms that they're driving customers to your website. So how can you improve these particular search terms and where you're actually getting them from? Taking me to E, which is engage. So how are you acquiring these customers? How are you engaging them? Where are you finding them online? A is activate, which is the behavior. What are they doing on your website? And then finally, nurture, which is, are you getting repeat purchases on your website? So these are the key things you need to look at for analytics. It's a powerful tool. We cannot exhaust the entirety of Google Analytics. We have so much things to learn from analytics. And again, there's a link that has been shared. Also, you can take a course on analytics on Google Skillshop. Kenneth, you can also share that link on the chat section on the Google Skillshop and understand how different things work on analytics. It's very, very powerful. And again, encourage you to keep the conversation going on our social media pages, on Twitter, on Instagram, on Facebook. Kenneth is sharing those links on the chat box, so you can keep the conversation going and tell us of the different experiences you're getting when you're using analytics. Did you get stuck when you're linking analytics to your website? How did you find Facebook page insights? Did it help your business grow? I'd like to know these things and see how we can help your business grow. So let's look at the final tool of the day, which is Google Trends. So Google Trends, again, to tell you, Google Trends is a very powerful tool. It helps you to analyze what is trending currently in the market, see how you can help your business grow using Google Trends. In fact, let's just dive into what you can use Google Trends for. So one thing, you can use Google Trends to see what is trending, what is actually currently trending in that particular region, and what conversation people are speaking about. To remind you again, it helps you to create content for your business. It helps you to come up with a content plan, either for a month or 2 months. You can keep on circling around a particular topic and see how you can create content for that particular season. Like, for example, November, Black Friday, December, Christmas. So we have Boxing, we have New Year. So you need to plan content for Boxing, for New Year, for Christmas, for Black Friday. This is whereby businesses make kills. And you have to look at your past year's data, what people are searching for, what pages your customers visited the most during this particular period, and see what people are actually searching for, and how you can now leverage that more for this particular year. Another thing, you're able to see, let's say, for example, if it's clothes, you're able to see if maybe it's a cold season. Like, for example, again, I told you in Kenya it's raining heavily, so you can see what clothes are people really searching for, what's the trending jacket, what's the trending shoes during this muddy season, and see how you can leverage that for your business. And the beautiful thing about Google Trends is that it gives you the exact keyword and the exact phrase, and it shows you the volume, and for a particular period, for a particular country, and for a particular language. So it is very, very powerful, and you can analyze so very many things. The beautiful thing about Google Trends, you can actually take those keywords and use it for Google Ads. You can actually even use it for your articles that you're writing, that is for search engine optimization, and it shows you related queries to your business. So you can search, let's say, for example, your business is selling jackets during this particular period, and now you can now type the word like jackets, maybe like cold season jackets, and you can even now see related queries related to cold weather jackets. You can see what other keywords you can use for cold weather jackets. It's very, very easy to use Google Trends. It's a very powerful tool. Again, I'd encourage you to go and exploit. So I think Kenneth can also share that link for Google Trends and see how you can use Google Trends for your business and see how your business is going to grow. I want to pause and see if we have any questions. If you don't have any questions, I'm going to ask you a very simple question. I'd like to know what your next steps are. Is it to link your website with analytics? Is it maybe to go and learn about Google My Business Listing and create a business listing for your business? Is it to check out Facebook page insights and see if your Facebook page was doing any good at all? So, get an insight about all these things online. So again, to encourage you to keep the conversation going on our social media pages, Twitter is Twitter/DigitalSkillsAF. Kenneth, I think he has shared those links with you. For Facebook is Digital Skills for Africa, 4 with numeric. Instagram, Digital Skills AF. So keep the conversation going, keep on the questions going on social media. We'd like to know how we're doing and get feedback from you even on our social media pages. Thank you very much for attending this session. Kenneth has shared a link for certificates. You can click on the link, register to get a certificate. You can get as many certificates as you want. If you have attended this session twice, you can get 2 certificates. Maybe you attended a different session, was creating a digital marketing plan. You can also get another certificate for attending this particular session. So I'm really grateful. I just want to say thank you again to Kenneth for being such a wonderful moderator. You've done a great job. So thank you very much, Kenneth. Thank you for moderating this session. Thank you very much, guys, and have a blessed afternoon. So obviously, I think maybe also in Nigeria or maybe West Africa, we're ready to afternoon. So thank you very much. Have a lovely, lovely afternoon.